I'd like to place a to-go order, please. It's pretty big. I want 12 large pizzas. I want 3 pepperoni, 3 cheese, 2 meat lovers.
There were people willing to spend next month's rent to fly across the country to play in a game at my house.
Got the flag, I'm out the front! Oh, that's straight playing offense. Oh, my!
What it comes down to is getting together with people and being able to yell at them. Being able to, talk about, oh, it was so great when you killed me with that rocket. I didn't even know it was coming,
Shishka's aim is horrible.
Oh, my God. And being able to, reflect on the gameplay afterwards.
Blue team got the most captures. I got the most kills. So I get one of the prizes.
Dobek's got most kills, and then Kingpin got 1 death because he just sat around like a pansy. And if he's watching this, he's a pansy. He knows.
What do you mean it's not
saw his voice thing down, yeah.
It's like time watching Flash, bro.
They probably think we're a little strange.
What do you mean a little?
A little. It's a hobby like any other, and every hobby has its own level of obsession or a level of interest.
We're a social group getting together.
Gaming used to be the domain of the geeks, and it's not really anymore.
I got the flag.
You got it?
Oh shit, maybe not. I got it.
Are we too old?
I have look at me!
Nah.
To Halo 2?
Halo 2.
And Bungie.
And Bungie.
What do? I make guns. You get that butt in, use it like a pistol, and you'll be able to have one in both hands. So you walk around with these 2 bullet hoses. There's the battle rifle, right? If you're like me, it'll be the weapon that you fall back on throughout the entire game, because it's the go-to gun. It'll hopefully actually behave more like a rifle than the assault rifle did from Halo, which was more of a submachine gun. It suffered from the same things that all video game weapons suffer from, and that is they do not behave like their real-world counterparts.
South Carolina, it was a trip for reference to see basically how Marines moved, how they reacted in combat situations, formations. We show up on a farm and we're kind of like, how serious could these guys actually be? And then we turn the corner and see a table full of guns. Not only 1 table, but 2 picnic tables full of guns. Actual military issue service weapons. It ranged from pistols to machine guns, fully automatic, silenced. You're talking the deadliest type of guns. And these guys were pretty serious. It was kind of intimidating.
Gun comes up, gun doesn't work. And now I'm gonna take up a good shooting position and I'm gonna follow him all the way into the ground, try to take him down. If I were to just barrel point him like that.
During the development of Halo, whatever, we made mistakes.
We definitely got some criticism from actual people that were in the military.
We had a smaller team, right? And we had a very short time to make the game.
We did a lot of research, but there's only so much that books can teach you. You've got to get a lot of research hands-on.
It isn't very often where you get to see guys who really know what they're doing.
And at full extension, now you're holding it out here by itself.
Being able to stand back and observe brass ejecting from the weapon and...
The most surprising thing for me was basically the communication between a 2-man unit.
Moving. Move.
Touching your partner's back when he's in front of you. Marines going into combat formations, how they'd handle certain situations, how they'd handle multiple opponents, single opponents. We're trying to go far and above what we've done in Halo 1.
This is our audio playground, which has evolved greatly since the last time. We now have virtually every surface in the game in these large rooms that allow us to kind of mess around and do what we want. Let me show you to one of my favorite rooms, which is the dirt room. Awful lot of dirt in Halo. I could listen to this stuff all day. A voice is a point in space that is creating audio, and that audio gets mixed and then gets put out the speakers. If I turn on one more debug thing here, it'll actually show us just how many voices are in use for an event like this. So the screen is filled with the amount of sound calls we're getting. And what this is telling us right here is that we have about 17 or 18 voices in use when this chain gun is firing. And we can have 64 unique things happening in surround sound space at a time. We almost call it the matrix of doom because the amount of surface types that we have in the game versus the amount of objects that we have in the game colliding with each other and against the environment, we will be generating hundreds and indeed thousands of sound effects to try to cover up this matrix. There's nothing we can't put in the game, and all we're waiting for is the assets to go in there for us to tag to them. So we're in good shape, I think. Ask me again in 2 months, and when I'm bloodshot eyes and I haven't bathed in 3 days, and I'll probably tell you something different.
So we had a game that was 9 levels. Took us, started at Earth and brought us out into the galaxy and then brought us back to Earth for this grand conclusion. Well, right about at that moment, Pandora's box was opened and decisions which were engraved in stone were rethought.
We messed up, like we didn't have the design down, we didn't have the story down.
Once we actually started to see how long the missions were taking to produce and how long they were taking to design and script, and it just wasn't going to work.
And then everything that wasn't essential, all these things that we just loved to see in the game, they get put on the bottom of this list, and we start hacking them off.
Here comes the knife out of the script. What's important? That isn't, goodbye, my lovely child.
The Bungie process of making cool games has worked up until now, but is it possible that there's an amount of pressure or an ambition that's beyond what we can actually do? I don't know. We haven't finished it yet.
These levels behind me, they are commitment. These whiteboards, all they are is commitment. This is what we're going to do.
The time for constructive feedback is done, and it's time to work.
Have you paid attention to our enemies for 1 second? I beg your pardon? First of all, that guy, he's not yellow. He's orange. And since when is there a girl on the red team?
My favorite thing is pretty dresses.
Arrgh. I got termites in me leg. And that is not a southern accent. Arrgh.
Do you have any tampons?
Seriously, what is the matter with you people?
At the time we started the series, we thought we were the first people ever to do this.
We did.
We thought we were
very
such
original.
creative geniuses.
We made 2 little 5-minute. No, they were about 2 minutes
No,
back
they were about
then.
2 minutes.
2 minutes apiece.
Yeah, 2 minutes each, and we put them on the web, and they were just funny little sketches that we wrote, and then we used Halo to animate them.
All right, O'Malley, this is it. I got half a mind to kill you.
That's ridiculous.
And the other half agrees.
I think the first week we had 2,000 hits, and then we had, I think, 3,000 hits in a day. As we realized it was kind of starting to take off, and then the next day we had 50,000 hits. And so we started doing a weekly series pretty quickly.
This is the M12 LRV. I like to call it the Warthog.
A lot of the jokes are just things that you and your buddies would say to each other while you're playing Halo.
Why a Warthog, sir? Because M12 LRV is too hard to say in conversation, son.
Is Simmons in the can?
I'm ready.
Okay. Action.
Would electrified be okay? Would electrified be okay? Would electrified be okay?
Great.
Well, as you can tell, we are in the old closet for this bedroom out here. We still have the wooden bars where you'd be hanging your clothes. When's it gonna be Simmons' turn? When? When I do the yelling, I hold on to the bars up here where we hang the clothes from. Otherwise, I get a little too excited.
That's pretty good, but try to sound like you're reading it off a script.
All right, I can do that.
Get through it a little faster.
Okay.
Aw, come on, Griff. He was more of a bag than a douchebag.
I'm wearing a training bra. I'm wearing a training bra.
Try emphasizing I'm.
There's a really weird feature in Halo. I won't call it a bug, out of respect. The position a character is normally in when playing the game, they have their gun up, they're looking around for somebody else going to shoot them, and then as you lower the gun, the character looks down, but at the last minute there looks back up. And we can make them bob their head to talk, to show who's talking, movement. We can have them turn to face people.
Well, looks like Caboose has hurt himself.
This is the bug that makes it possible. You know, without this, we couldn't do it.
Caboose get his head stuck in the freezer again.
It's a beautiful game. I mean, there's still, I don't think there's a better looking game for the Xbox since it's come out. No, I don't know. I'd like to keep doing it basically as long as Bungie and the fans will put up with us.
We're here today. We're on the 8th of June today. We're roughly halfway towards finishing the project since this went up. So 4 weeks from now, we'll have coded everything in the game. Another 4 weeks from now, we'll have put all of the pieces of content in the game. 2 weeks after that, we'll have literally everything, all of the audio, all the cinematics, everything. Then there's 6 weeks after that where all we do is play it and we fix any bug where we absolutely could not ship it. And then we release it.
I'm still scared shitless right now, to be honest with you.
Problem is, the bug I have is the difference between good enough and awesome is so big. And I mean, there's standards set by everyone here that, I mean, good enough sucks. You can't do good enough. You fire the bullet, and the bullet comes about maybe 4 or 5 pixels below where the crosshair says it's going to. It's a hard kind of thing to live up to, but it's I mean, the game's going to be better for it.
We're actually pretty good at slamming stuff in right at the end. As a matter of fact, I think we do some of our best work that way.
We're seeing big chunks of the game being fun and playable, and so I think that's a huge corner that we've turned.
Right now I'm working on polishing the blood splatter decals.
The bugger evolved into this model right here. He has independent little hips, which kind of give him buggery movement, which is cool.
We're trying to add certain specific weak points to a Banshee's, like on the anti-grav pods on the wings.
We've got a huge amount of work to do in this very, very compressed time period. That's scary. These guys everybody here is scared.
More time would be welcome.
CJ doesn't need this until...
If we could have some more time, that would be great, but the fans are screaming.
More time.
Yeah, we could have used a lot more time.
If you can invent a 75-hour day, you'd be my best friend.
We're not asking to work shorter days. We're asking to work as hard as we're working right now, but just 2 weeks.
It's an amazing thing to be part of. That many people want something so bad that they're willing to spend that, that time and that effort 7 days a week. It's tremendously hard. It's a cool thing to be part of, and Halo 1 wouldn't have been what it was if we hadn't done that, and this game sure wouldn't be what it is going to be if we had worked 8 hours a day, and maybe that sucks because we didn't plan right, and maybe there's a way to do it all on the 9-to-5 schedule, and maybe one day we'll even find that, but it's sure not the way it's going to be this time.
We've undertaken this really massive task. I think that we had 2,000 or 3,000 lines of unique combat dialogue in Halo 1, and now we're talking more than 14,000 lines of combat dialogue. So the end result is that Marty and I are spending, Marty more than me, a bunch of time in the studio getting a lot of voices.
On a galactic scale. Let's see, fairly robust security algorithms. I could crack them, but sidestep, cover my tracks, and voila, top-side hull schematics.
See, Jen, you just made like all the dorky techno geeks. There's nothing hotter than a woman that can infiltrate topside hull schematics. What's it like working with Marty? That's a good question.
Joe? Oh, well, I mean, it's the best.
Working with Marty is an effort in patience and restraint.
He's hilarious, he's funny, he's sharp.
He gets to bitch like nobody's business about how much work he has and how little time there is.
We work together really well.
The two of us together are the most unlikely couple for a variety of reasons.
I hate him, actually.
Chief, whatever you're gonna do, make it quick.
I think Cortana might just be genuinely...
Basically, well, all you want to do is say, louder, faster, now you're sad. But Joe is like, well, you see, back in the first centuries of spaceflight, the Covenant...
So right, the Covenant fleet which arrived at Earth is now attacking. There's an engine core, and if we destroy the reactor that powers the core, the ship...
Actually, I can see the actors' eyes start to glaze over, and they have no idea what that means. So they'll say, so, you want it faster? And then I'll go, yeah, faster.
I'd say Marty's direction is incredibly intuitive. Sometimes, and I'm smiling even as I say it, I don't know what I'm going to say, but Marty does, and he's already written out exactly as I'm going to say it.
Oh, Pods, come in. Sweet Lord, it's raining aliens. Oh, Jesus, why you do this to me? Aliens everywhere.
Number one, you want to have someone who gets it, who, especially if they've played the game, or if they're really good actors and they've improvised a lot.
That's the kind of performance we're looking for. I just don't want the actor to blow through the page and give me exactly what I want. I want the actor to go through the page, give me what I want, be inspired, and then launch off into some crazy realm.
Hello, I am 343 Guilty Spark. I am the monitor of Installation 04.
This will save me from the storm, but you will be consumed. The universe is full of cold, hard facts, and this is one of them.
Chief, we've got a problem. The boarding craft from the Malta and the Athens are converging on us.
The moment of salvation is at hand.
Forward, warriors, and fear not pain or death.
I shall light this holy ring, release its cleansing flame, and burn a path into the divine beyond.
This place is falling apart.
Kill me or release me, parasite. But do not waste my time with talk.
I need a weapon.
This is not your grave. But you are welcome in it. Kill the other. I have come to kill you.
My eyes! Oh my! Where am I being taken?
Hold on to your potatoes.
I stick my foot so far up your ass, you'll be talking shit for weeks.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Have you?
Punch it, Ensign.
Turret's wasted.
Oh, denied.
Hoorah.
I love holding these highlighters.
The hopes of all the Covenant rest on your shoulders, Chieftain.
That was really wonderful to see these actors come in who we really didn't know what was going to happen with them, and they worked really, really hard, and they did a really great job. Works for us, and away we go. Whee! If only Marty would work that hard, we'd be set.
Dietat. Dia pap.
There's always a point, like when I'm all by myself composing, and this just happened like within the last 24 hours, where I'm thinking, is this anything? Is this idea going to be interesting to anybody? You have these whole series of self-doubts. And then there comes a point where I get over the hump. Like I add some instrument or I play some melody, and it's like, oh, okay. That's what this was meant to be. If I'm involved in the development of the game and I actually enjoy the game, and I'm talking with Joe and I'm talking with Tyson, I'm understanding emotionally what they're trying to do, then my product will be better because I'm that deeply involved in it.
Marty's pretty amazing. Marty makes pretty much everything we do twice as good, and that makes me really angry because he's just about the only individual who has that level of contribution to the team, but I would never say that to him.
So it's really nice to see something which needed an epic effort to put it together and make it really great, sort of coming together now.
The reason the plane builder is now considering
We're at a stage in the game development where a lot of things that were broken or unfinished are really coming together. It certainly wiped out all my expectations. I was hoping for Halo 1.5 or 6, you know, and a few new features, a couple of new weapons, but just seeing how it's exploding, it's really incredible.
It's really great to have this deadline that we can't move at all because it forces us to kind of finish it. When the producers come over and pry our hands from the keyboard and say, okay, you can't touch it anymore, we've got to start manufacturing these discs, I think that's the point where we're going to have to stop, and that's going to be the end of it.
People are like, God damn, like it's so cool to fight the hunter, except then this grunt guy came over, and wouldn't it be cool like if you could jump up on the hunter's back and do this or that, or you know, whatever, and you're like, let's go do it.
It feels to me like the excitement is coming back. Getting the missions together is pretty huge. It's something that people haven't seen for 3 years. All the designers are here, programmers are here, environment artists seem like they haven't gone home since about April anyway, so I think everybody's kept focused, and I think that's something that's really important.
We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so that's good.
There's glorious, bright light at the end of the tunnel.
I see the light, it's this little pinprick, but it's coming fast.
I'm married to the guy who actually got to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and he says it's glorious.
Every day I see something brand new that it blows me away. I'm like, gosh, how did you guys do that? It's really neat stuff. It excites me, makes me do better work, makes all these other guys do better work. They're really excited about it.
Jason has this phrase that he uses for how things come together at the end, and he says that it's like assembling a cathedral out of a hurricane.
We scale each of these 3 factors by a different value.
The best part of working Halo 1 was at the end when the game is done, you come in and play the game, and you know that's your work. You come in and you actually beta test the game, and I'll just tell him that I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to see all the work that we've done, put it in the game, and play it at the end of the game. It's going to be awesome.
I would describe it as barely pulling out of the dive in time to make a perfect 3-point landing, and I think if the plane holds together, we're going to land it okay.
I'm often amazed by the shit that we can pull off. This group of people is great.
Well, I think
it's about believing you're the best and that there's nothing that you can't overcome. It's about showing everybody else that you rule the world. And it's also about having fun. I mean, as hard as it gets, it's still the best job in the world.
Come on! All right, stick together.
Right now.
Oh, it went up top.
Murder Max. Kind of a little bit.
I like to think of it as jumping out of an airplane with some silkworms and a needle and having to make your parachute on the way down. It always comes together right at the very end.
Pull this out from so far.
There's always this thing that happens at the end where all these disparate pieces come together and make this glorious game, and to a certain extent you just have to keep your hands on the keyboard like it's a steering wheel of a race car and type really quickly as all this stuff falls into the hopper, because very quickly what's going to come out the other side is, I think, something which is really good. We're not sure yet, but it's looking like it's going to be good.
There's nothing I could do.
we've got a problem.
I will continue my campaign against the humans.
Warriors, prepare for combat. 30 seconds out.
Stand by to... Whoa.
Here is the space station. I think the main gist of what we were trying to achieve with this at the very, very beginning was the idea of this giant perimeter gun that orbits the Earth and is used for satellite defense.
One thing I really liked about the space station was how you could actually really have a sense of where you were in the station with all the windows looking out onto the gun, like all these atrium spaces where you've got a lot of sight lines to other parts of the station that you later get to. Unlike the Pillar of Autumn, you really didn't have a sense of how big the structure was.
That leads us onto Old Mombasa. We had a lot of destruction present in this to really try to set the mood of the Earth being under attack. It was sort of an inspiration of what would an old ethnic neighborhood look like in the future. So a lot of stuff has been retrofitted with wires, and it was a nice way to transitions into the newer architecture, which you eventually get to after you play through the beach and the tunnels and all that. And you eventually end up over what we call New Mombasa.
A lot of the look and feel of the city was based on either concepts that were painted or from actual photographs of the current city of Mombasa that exists in Kenya. And so that's why it seems familiar. At the same time, we've tried to add as simply as possible signs of 500 years of human advance.
It sort of still harkens to the arcology concept that Chris Lee was working on a long time ago for the E3.
You'll see a lot of architecture here, like this large bridge. There's some highway sections, and then the new city. And the reason why the arcology was replaced is because it was such a massive structure that you really felt like you were just in a gray metal canyon and not in a living city nearly as much as the new level. So hopefully it was a change for the better.
Gas Giant.
Dave's baby. His big,
worked on this
big
for
baby.
Too long, too many years. It was satisfying to play through it. I played through it today, and I think successfully. The production half of it feels like, okay, this is where they're moving these odd canisters full of gas that they're farming. I think there's a good transition from that to the research area where this predates the Halos. Their idea for this is where they first sort of came into contact with the flood and had this horrible potential war in front of them or infestation.
Okay, here we go. Sentinel Wall. This is where things start to cook up story-wise.
This wall was built by the Forerunners to keep the flood quarantined into a specific area on Delta Halo.
Even the exterior of the quarantine zone is supposed to reflect the barrenness and the lack of life that the Sentinels have been trying to instill in the area by starving it of light and energy and heat and all sorts of good things, and so that's why it's so cold. And we're now at High Charity.
We definitely took a departure from the Covenant stuff that we did in Halo.
We're able to squeeze the most out of the Xbox and actually do all the fancy curves and shiny surfaces that we had drawn out.
We chose a different palette for colors.
Yes, purple.
A lot darker.
Much darker purple than
much darker purple, desaturated.
The mauve tones of Halo 1.
We pulled